Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This time we'll be doing something a bit different. As you probably saw from the title of this video, I will be talking about one of my favorite fish in the hobby, the Pseudomugil Gertrudae, otherwise known as the spotted blueye. This particular group of Gertrudae is found in drainages and the surrounding areas in the Ubangi swamp area just 10 minutes north of Innisfail, where I live. I had known about the existence of pseudomugils through YouTube for a few years, but only discovered last year that this species could be found very close to where I live. I have Nick from Keeping Fish Simple to thank after seeing a video of him coming up here to collect some to add to his collection. Check it out if you haven't seen it already, it's an amazing video. We'll have a link below for those interested. Now, let's get into it. A little backstory on when I got my Gertrudaes. As mentioned, all of my breeders are wild caught from Ubangi swamp. I collected my first colony last year in August, took about 20 fish and I split them into two groups of 10. Sadly, I lost one of my groups earlier this year due to my mistake. So I went back and caught another group of 10 at the start of April this year to see if they would be more prolific at laying eggs than my original group. Alright, now let's get into how I keep these little guys. As they were wild caught, I did a drip acclimation for them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours just to be safe. And to this day, those that survived the acclimation have been doing very well. Where I live in far north Queensland, the temperatures can reach 30 degrees Celsius or more in summer and dip below 12 degrees Celsius in winter. I haven't been running any heaters on my tanks for a few years now, even when I was keeping other fish such as tetras and apistogrammas. As for most of the year, we have an average temperature of 26 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius. As I've now moved on to native fish that are found in the surrounding area, I find it less meaningful for me to run heaters during winter as they will be experiencing the same temperatures in the wild too, if not even colder because they are not insulated within a house. I do find Gertrudaes to be a social fish as males can often be seen tailing females around the tank. That's if the males are not busy sparring with each other for territory. I would recommend keeping them in groups of 5 or more as they can be a pretty skittish fish. I've mainly kept them for breeding purposes in groups of 10, usually containing 4 males and 6 females. They come from very slow to still moving bodies of water, with heavily vegetated plants that are partially and completely submerged in water. I'm not 100% sure of my plant ID, but it seems the waterway here was covered in what I believe to be Nargis tenuifolia and pondweed. The bottom was covered in a layer of silt or dirt when there wasn't any plant growth blocking vision. These drains that they are found in fill up during the wet season, flooding most of the area, allowing them to move freely about and explore new areas of the swamp. But as the dry season approaches, much of the water reclines and some are forced back into these roadside drainages. In the wild, they will eat microfauna, peck at algae or eat the occasional insect on the water surface. In a captive setting, I have found them to be not very picky and readily accept dry feeds such as flakes and pellets. I don't feed flakes anymore as a personal preference, but I'm confident they will still eat it. You just have to make sure to crush the flake in between your fingers so they can eat it. I prefer to feed small crushable pellets such as DRP1 and bug buffet. They both can be easily crushed into a fine powder to feed the fry. They also get fed diced frozen bloodworms, brine shrimp, and freshly hatched baby brine shrimp every couple of days. But as we are going into winter, the temperature isn't consistently warm enough for me to hatch them at the current temps of 26 degrees Celsius at its peak and 12 degrees Celsius at its lowest. I like to hatch brine shrimp eggs using the atmospheric temperature instead of using a heating element. It isn't ideal as freshly hatched baby brine shrimp contains a lot of protein which can boost the growth rate of the fry once they are big enough to eat it. The main diet during this winter will consist of bug buffet, DRP1 and finely chopped frozen foods for the juveniles and adults. As for fry feeds, this will be covered later in the video. Let's learn how to sex them before moving on to how to breed them. It is very easy to sex males and females as there is sexual dimorphism between them. The males are incredibly good looking. The fins are mostly covered in a transparent white which transitions into a solid white as it reaches the tip of the fins. Starting from the pectoral fin, they are covered in small black dots that leads to the rest of the body and fins. Lastly, they can also get an iridescent teal or blue coloration on their body towards the caudal fin and a striking yellow to orange chest. The females, on the other hand, lack the white coloration and are quite plain, but they still maintain the small black dots and can also get a yellow-orange chest. I find them to be pretty similar in size, with the males being slightly bigger. Males ranging from 3.5 cm to 4 cm, and the females 3 cm to 3.5 cm. These fish are pretty easy to breed, I would say, even though I did have a bit of trouble with them in the beginning. By feeding them good quality foods and regular feedings, the females become very plump, full of eggs, and can breed almost every single day. They like to lay their eggs in vegetation like moss, algae, fine leaf plants, or the roots of other plants. So to be able to collect the eggs, I use a spawning mop, which is commonly used in the breeding industry to simulate a safe place to lay her eggs. A male courts over a female, and as she lays a single egg, he moves in behind her to fertilize it. I check the mops in the morning and sometimes in the evening as well, as I find that they tend to lay eggs throughout the day. They definitely prefer to breed during the warmer months, and I can see that by the amount of eggs I am currently collecting as we head into winter. Collecting the eggs is very simple. You lift the mop out of the water and squeeze out the majority of the water. Don't worry about the eggs too much, they are pretty robust. I then thoroughly search through the mops for eggs, currently collecting anywhere from 5 to 7 eggs daily. The yield of eggs could definitely be a lot higher if there weren't no plants in the tanks, as they are probably laying on them too. Using my fingers, I pick off the eggs and place them into a hang-on breeder box, which is filled with Indian almond leaf water and a few pieces of the leaf. The tannin water helps reduce the spread of fungus from unfertilized eggs, as those unfertilized eggs will turn white and sometimes grow fungus around it. These eggs should be removed to prevent possible spread of the fungus. I learned this trick from Eliza at Handpicked Aquatics after watching her room tour on Nick's channel. She really saved me from giving up, as I struggled breeding them in the beginning because I couldn't stop my eggs from developing fungus after a few days in normal tank water. I also tried methylene blue at 1.2 and it did work, but it also stained everything. The fertilized or good eggs will stay clear, and after a few days will start to develop small eyes, where they can take anywhere from 10 to 14 days to hatch. I also add in air stain to help the water from going stagnant. The decaying leaves of the Indian almond leaf produce the first feed for any hatching fry, as it harbors microorganisms for the fry to peck at. This is what most people will consider the difficult stage, raising the fry. It is somewhat difficult for the first 2 weeks, as I do get random fry die-off, but any that survive after that period usually grow up well. After the fry hatch in the breeding container, I use a turkey baser to suck up any of the fry to transfer them into a grower tank. The tank contains a simple sponge filter, guppy grass, moss, and some of that Indian almond leaf. The leaf continues to produce the microorganisms, and the moss and guppy grass filter out any nitrates. The fry in this clip range from 2 weeks old to present time. There must be around 20 to 25 fry in there, with more on the way as eggs are hatching almost every day. I currently have 3 tanks growing out 3 different stages of fry. As you will see in the next clips, I have some juveniles growing out and 2 fully grown adult Gertrudae. I feed them twice a day with crushed buggerfait in the morning and crushed DRP1 in the evening. They are kept on this diet for their entire life, supplemented with freshly hatched baby brine shrimp when I can. I try my best to do a 50% water change once a week to help maintain good water quality. At around the 2-month period, the young males will develop white finnage and the iconic white tipped pectoral fins. All these fish will be kept in this 20-litre grower tank until they are big enough to start selling, or if I decide to use them to breed my second generation, which is probably what will end up happening. I do find them to be somewhat a slow growing fish, as it took me nearly 8 months to grow my first 2 fry into adults. It was a very long journey, but the outcome was definitely worth it. I would love for him to develop slightly longer dorsal fin and pelvic fin trailers, like some of the wild caught males, although I'm not sure if that is a genetic trait or something that comes with age. In another tank that I was growing some fry out, I discovered that Gertrudaes can start breeding as soon as 3.5 to 4 months. The males and females in there were no bigger than 2 centimeters. The male to female ratio in this tank was 1 to 3, and as you can see, they have been very busy. There must be 20 plus fry in this tank as of filming, and the plan is to leave them in there for as long as I can. I also find it interesting that the parents are not predating on their own fry in quite a small crowded tank. The males must still be too small at this stage to eat something the size of their fry. My two main breeding groups also have lushly planted tanks, but have yet to see any small fry or juveniles swimming about. The ultimate plan is to eventually move a group out into the ponds to start colony breeding them. Pseudomugil gertrudaes are an amazing little nanofish to keep in a nicely scaped tank, or like me, they can be a very fun breeding project. If you find them to be quite shy and skittish, get more of them. By increasing the group of number to 5 or 10 individuals, they become less shy and naturally come right up to the glass to greet you. I hope you have enjoyed this video on how I keep and breed the Pseudomugil gertrudae Ubanenji swamp. I had a lot of fun showing and talking you through how I keep and breed them. I hope you have the chance to keep these little guys in your fish keeping hobby at least once. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.